Here is a story of a voice, a style, and a spirit that changed the face of music. A tale woven from chiffon, poetry, and an unbreakable strength that refused to fade. This is the journey of Stevie Nicks, the woman the world came to know as Stevie. A woman who turned her life into poetry, her pain into melody, and her strength into song. Through heartbreaks, dreams, and moments of transcendence, she invited the world to listen, and in doing so, she changed it. Stevie Nicks was born on May 26, 1948, in Phoenix, Arizona. From the very beginning, music was in her blood. Her grandfather, Aaron Jess Nicks, was a struggling country and western singer who dreamed of making it big. Though his own dreams remained unfulfilled, he recognized the same spark in his young granddaughter. He took Stevie under his wing, teaching her to sing harmonies before she could even read. Together they sang in bars and living rooms, their voices weaving together like magic. Years later, Stevie would recall, "My grandfather was a dreamer. He had a beautiful voice. He taught me how to sing when I was 4. He'd have me stand up on a bar while he played guitar, and he taught me every harmony, low, high, and everything in between. I was a singer before I was anything else." Her childhood was filled with motion. Her father's job as a business executive meant the family moved often, from Phoenix to Albuquerque, El Paso, Salt Lake City, and finally to Los Angeles. Each move meant starting over. New schools, new faces, new loneliness. But that loneliness became her muse. She retreated into books, fairy tales, and her imagination, creating a world where she could write and dream freely. That inner world would later shape the mystical storytelling that became her signature style. On her 16th birthday, her parents gave her a simple gift, a Goya guitar. To anyone else, it was just an instrument. But to Stevie, it was a doorway. She began writing songs immediately. Her first composition was called "I've Loved and I've Lost, and I'm Sad but Not Blue." The title alone hinted at the themes that would define her career: love, heartbreak, resilience, and hope. "I sat on my bed, wrote that song, and I knew," she said, "this is what I'm going to do. This is my life." That certainty carried her forward. During her high school years in Arcadia, California, destiny quietly entered the room. One night, at a casual party, she saw a boy with intense eyes playing "California Dreamin'" on his guitar. His name was Lindsey Buckingham. Without hesitation, she joined in, harmonizing effortlessly. The moment was electric. "There was this girl," Lindsey later said, "and she just started singing harmony with me. It was a perfect blend. Something just clicked." They went their separate ways for a time, but fate had other plans. A few years later, Lindsey joined a band called Fritz, and when they needed a new singer, he thought of that girl with the voice that had stayed in his mind. Stevie joined, and together they began performing in the local California scene. Fritz opened for giants like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, a crash course in showmanship and survival. But despite the success, Stevie felt stifled. She was the girl singer, not the songwriter she longed to be. "I was just the pretty girl up front," she later said. "I wanted to write. I wanted to tell my own stories." When Fritz disbanded in 1972, Stevie and Lindsey took a leap of faith. They packed their dreams and moved to Los Angeles. They were broke, but they had each other and their songs. Sleeping on floors, working odd jobs, Stevie supported them as a waitress and cleaner while Lindsey perfected his guitar craft. In 1973, they released their first album, Buckingham Nicks. Though it didn't sell, it revealed something special: their chemistry, their sound, their soul. Stevie's ethereal voice and poetic lyrics paired perfectly with Lindsey's precision and fire. Yet despite the artistry, the album flopped commercially. The record label dropped them. It was heartbreak once again. But as fate would have it, destiny was listening. Somewhere in California, Mick Fleetwood, drummer and founder of Fleetwood Mac, was looking for a new guitarist. In a studio one night, he heard a track from Buckingham Nicks. It was Lindsey's guitar on Frozen Love. Mick was transfixed. "I thought, my God, this is amazing. Who is this guy?" Soon after, he invited Lindsey to join Fleetwood Mac. Lindsey had one condition: "You have to take my girlfriend too." Stevie and Lindsey were a package deal. Mick agreed, and with that decision, history changed forever. On New Year's Eve 1974, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham officially joined Fleetwood Mac. The chemistry was instant. Within months, they began recording a new album, the self-titled Fleetwood Mac, 1975. The sound was a revelation, a blend of British blues rock and California folk pop that felt fresh, emotional, and unmistakably modern. The album climbed to #1 in the US and turned Fleetwood Mac into stars. 2 songs, both written by Stevie, became eternal classics. Landslide, written in a moment of self-doubt before fame, spoke softly but deeply of change and reflection. And Rhiannon, inspired by a mysterious novel character, transformed her image completely. On stage, Stevie didn't just sing Rhiannon, she became her. Flowing scarves, black lace, and wild hair, she was a vision of feminine mysticism and power. Her performances were so intense that she later admitted they frightened her. "I was Rhiannon," she said. "It was like a possession." The world took notice. Stevie Nicks had become more than a singer, she was an icon. But success came with storms. By 1976, as the band began recording Rumours, their personal lives were unraveling. Christine and John McVie's marriage collapsed. Stevie and Lindsey's long, passionate love story ended in heartbreak. Even Mick Fleetwood's marriage fell apart. The studio turned into a battlefield of emotions, but out of that chaos came one of the greatest albums in history. Released in 1977, Rumours captured every ounce of heartbreak, betrayal, and resilience the band felt. Lindsey's Go Your Own Way was his farewell to Stevie. Her response came as Dreams, written in just 10 minutes. Simple, haunting, and deeply emotional, it became Fleetwood Mac's only #1 single in America. Stevie poured her pain into poetry. Thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only love you when they're playing. It was wisdom from a wounded heart, and it resonated with millions. Another song, Gold Dust Woman, revealed her darker side, exploring the illusions and addictions that fame brings. It was prophetic. Rumours became one of the best-selling albums of all time. Over 40 million copies and counting. But behind the glamour, Stevie's life was slipping into shadows. The success, the endless touring, the emotional turmoil, it all took a toll. Cocaine use became part of the lifestyle, and by the mid-1980s, it had nearly destroyed her. A doctor warned she could die from a brain hemorrhage if she didn't stop. That warning changed her life. She checked herself into the Betty Ford Center and began the painful process of recovery. But even as she battled her demons, Stevie's creativity burned on. In 1981, she released her first solo album, Belladonna. It was raw, honest, and breathtakingly powerful. With songs like Edge of 17, written after the deaths of her uncle and John Lennon, and her duet with Tom Petty, Stop Draggin' My Heart Around, she proved she could stand on her own. The album went straight to #1. "I had to see if I was brave enough to do it alone," she said, and she was. Throughout the 80s, Stevie walked a tightrope between her solo career and Fleetwood Mac. Albums like The Wild Heart, 1983, and Rock a Little, 1985, solidified her status as the reigning queen of rock. But fame came with strange rumors. Her black clothes, lace shawls, and poetic lyrics led tabloids to claim she was a witch. "It hurt deeply," she said. "I was just telling stories, but people thought I was evil." To quiet the talk, she even stopped wearing black for several years, a sacrifice of self-expression for peace of mind. The worst battle, however, was yet to come. After kicking cocaine, Stevie was prescribed Klonopin by a psychiatrist to prevent relapse. The drug numbed her, trapping her in a fog for nearly 8 years. "Klonopin was worse than cocaine," she later said. "It stole my soul. I couldn't write. I was gone." In 1993, she entered the hospital for a brutal 47-day detox. It nearly broke her, but she emerged reborn. "I lost 8 years," she said, "but I got my life back." From that point forward, Stevie Nicks began a new chapter, one defined by strength, clarity, and purpose. Her later albums, Trouble in Shangri-La, 2001, and In Your Dreams, 2011, were hailed as triumphant returns. Her lyrics were wiser, her voice richer, her presence even more magnetic. She reunited with Fleetwood Mac for several world tours, their timeless music resonating with new generations. And new generations indeed listened. Artists from Taylor Swift to Florence Welch, from Harry Styles to Lorde, have cited Stevie Nicks as a guiding light, a woman who proved that femininity and power are not opposites, but reflections of the same truth. Her influence can be heard in every whisper of poetic pop, every song sung by women who dare to be mystical, emotional, and real. In 2019, Stevie Nicks made history once again. Having already been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as part of Fleetwood Mac, she was honored a second time, this time as a solo artist. She became the first woman ever to achieve this double recognition. Standing on that stage, surrounded by generations she had inspired, she addressed the women of the world. "So what I am doing," she said, "is opening a door for other women. This is hard, but you can do it. You just have to be yourself. You have to be brave. And you have to write your own songs." In that moment, Stevie Nicks wasn't just receiving an award, she was passing a torch. The same fire that her grandfather lit in her heart when she was a little girl singing harmonies now burns in countless others. Her life, filled with light and shadow, triumph and tragedy, is more than a story. It's a melody that continues to echo across time. She is the poet in chiffon, the dreamer of dreams, and the woman who taught us that even from heartbreak, you can make beauty, if you have the courage to sing it aloud. This is not just the story of a rock star. This is the story of a woman who turned her life into legend and invited the world to listen.